In this podcast, we're going to talk about the structure of waxes and some places you will find waxes in life. All right, waxes are essentially esters. And so looking at the structure down here, we can see it has an ester in it. So what makes a wax different from a run-of-the-mill ester? And what makes it different is that your carboxylic acid is going to be a fatty acid. So remember that this is going to have 12 to 20 carbons in its chain. So it's an incredibly long carboxylic acid. And we're going to join that together in an esterification reaction with an alcohol. But it's not just any alcohol. It's going to be an alcohol that has 14 to 30 carbons in its chain. So we're taking a very long fatty acid chain and a very long alcohol chain, and we're combining them in this ester bond into a very long chain. And we're going to see that structure on the next slide. Because you have these incredibly long, a 12 to 20 hydrocarbon region for your fatty acid, a 14 to 30 hydrocarbon region for your alcohols, these are going to be very, very hydrophobic, a lot more hydrophobic than, say, your fatty acids or anything that we've talked about yet. We find these in nature on feathers. So we talk about bird feathers as being hydrophobic. So they don't interact with water. They keep water runs right off a duck's back. They're going to be found also on leaves. If you were to handle a leaf, you would notice that it has a waxy coating on it covering the leaf. That's an example of a wax in nature. Also, animal fibers like wool is going to have wax as part of it. We call that lanolin. Lanolin is also used as a product. It can create a hydrophobic barrier. It can be used in like as a diaper rash cream or something to that effect as well. Because it has an ester in it, we consider it to be a hydrolyzable or a saponifiable wax or fat. What that essentially means is that we can break that ester bond in the presence of acid or a base, and we can reform a carboxylic acid and an alcohol. So we can break this apart. We can hydrolyze this. One great example of a wax in your everyday life is beeswax. Beeswax can be found in chapsticks like Burt's Bees chapstick. And keep in mind that waxes are very, very hydrophobic. We have joined together a long carboxylic acid end, and remember we like to draw our line between the carbonyl and the oxygen. That separates your carboxylic acid from your alcohol, or what was once your alcohol, in just a simple esterification reaction, which you've already learned. The reason it's very hydrophobic is because of these very long carbon-hydrogen regions. Okay, remember they can be up to 14 to 30 on the alcohol side, 12 to 20 on the carboxylic acid side. In the very center of this chain is this really tiny polar region. That polar region, while it would be water soluble, it can't overcome these long nonpolar carbon-hydrogen chains. So therefore, it would be very insoluble in water or very hydrophobic as a structure. Here's some other examples of waxes in your everyday life, and hopefully this one is not in your everyday life, this actual first example. We used to commercially hunt whales, sperm whales specifically. Because sperm whales have spermaceti wax. I'll spell that for you. It's kind of just how it sounds. Spermaceti wax. And spermaceti wax used to be used extensively in candles as well as cosmetics. And this is the only way we could get our hands on this wax. So we pretty much pushed those guys to the brink of extinction for cosmetic and candle purposes. We no longer have any commercial whaling operations, thankfully. In this image down here, you can see there is a waxy coating on the leaves, which is making the water bead up because wax is a very hydrophobic substance. Third thing you're seeing is a jojoba plant, which I'm sure if you're into cosmetics or lotions and potions, you've heard of the jojoba plant. It's grown in the southwestern United States, and the plant itself is rich in waxes that can be used in cosmetic substances and personal care products. So a lot of times you'll see lotions touting that they're made with jojoba oils. That's the plant that it's coming from.